Good morning, everybody. This is Virginia. I'm inside our home kitchen here with Firefly Fields, and it's been a while since we've had a chance to talk, and I only have about 11 and a half minutes because I've got cakes baking right now for Jude's birthday. But I just wanted to share a little bit about flour this morning. So I know that, usually I'm talking about honey and the bees because that's really my focus on the farm, is keeping the bees and taking care of them, as well as the harvesting of the honey. But some of you may know that about 2 months ago in December, I started kind of on this quest of learning how to do sourdough, starting our own starters, and really kind of experimenting with all the different flours and grains that we grow on the farm. And so doing that, I've learned a few things I want to share out with you guys, but also just talk a little bit more specifically about the flour and what that is, and kind of some of the differences about the flour grown on our farm. And so it was just a couple weekends ago, we had a wonderful couple come and visit us at the farm to pick up some fresh flour. And the husband asked, where does the grain all come from? And it dawned on me immediately that I didn't realize, not everybody knows, all of the flour that we grow on the farm, the buckwheat, the cornmeal, the spelt, the soft red wheat, all of it is grown on our family's 450-acre certified organic farm. And so everything comes from one source and one only. And that's something that's a little bit different. So it all comes from those fields. The other thing, besides being certified organic, if you look at our flour, we have the USDA certified organic, but we also are bee-friendly certified as well. And so many of you know that besides growing row crops of grains and certified organic beans, we have honeybees, and we also have cattle. But we are considered a bee-friendly certified farm because we provide lots of habitat and both forage and housing and water specifically for pollinators and bee species. So that's beyond just the honeybees. So our flour is certified organic and it's bee-friendly certified as well, which is kind of unique. There's not a lot of people that go beyond that certified label. So it all comes from one farm, all of our flour. And another thing, we're organic and bee friendly. But the other big thing that we do is that our flour is all stone milled. And so stone milled, okay, what does that mean? So I also have to say, I shout out to King Arthur Flour. I love their flour. It's awesome. But what you get in these two bags, what we mill is stone milled versus a roller mill, are two very, very different products. Both have a purpose. Both make awesome things. And also, honestly, I think the best thing is when we combine them together. But what's the difference between these two? And so I'm going to try to give an up close of what a King Arthur rolled mill flour looks like. So if you look at this is what you buy, like the super fluffy, it's very white, very clean. It's just like powder. And this is like mostly starch and protein. Versus a stone milled flour like we do on our farm. We mill it on our farm. So we plant the seeds, we take care of those seeds and plants, we harvest, we clean, and we mill all on our farm. And in this flour that's stone milled, what's different is it's also white and fluffy. But what the stone mill does is you still have the germ, endosperm, and bran in the flour. And that has its awesome added benefits to it. And so one of the biggest benefits is the flavor. And so when you get a lot of that nutty, distinctive taste, that comes from a stone milled flour. It completely enhances whatever bakes you're making. Now, like a King Arthur flour that's been rolled and milled multiple times, it separates all of those things out. So it separates the germ, the endosperm, and the bran. But what are the germ, endosperm, and the bran? And so I'm going to explain that. And here we go. Here is a whole grain spelt. This is actually grown and harvested on our farm. And if you see closely, they're kind of egg-shaped. And the egg is actually a great analogy for what the germ, endosperm, and the bran are. And so when you get a nice rolled flour that's been rolled and processed, highly processed, what basically happens is, think of the grain as an egg, again, and that rolling process breaks apart the shell. It breaks that off. That shell of the egg is like the bran. The bran is removed, and then inside of the egg, we know that there's the white part, and then there's the yellow part, the yolk, right? And so the germ, which is like the embryo where all the life, the oils, the great nutrients, super nutrients, B vitamins, minerals, all of those reside inside the germ. And that germ gets pulled out as well. That's the yolk, leaving behind just the white part, okay? And that white part inside of a flour grain is what we call the endosperm. And what's in the endosperm is mainly just starch and some protein, okay? Versus a stone milled flour like we grow on our farm at Firefly Fields that has some elements of the germ, endosperm, and bran. So what you get is a lot of that flavor that resides inside the germ and bran, as well as all of those super nutrients and benefits, minerals, vitamins, oils that are also in the germ. Okay, so that's kind of the difference between those two. But you know, the biggest thing I think that's more important besides flavor, which we know we all care a lot about, is what else does it do with our bakes? And so I've got a few things here, a few bakes that we've worked on over the week. We're constantly baking and tinkering here. But, you know, with a flour that's been rolled and that's very light and fluffy, just starch and protein for the most part, you're gonna get bigger lifts. That's a really nice quality to have, right, in many things. And so, for example, if I'm going to use my sourdough leaven that I've created, this leaven's about 50% a King Arthur bread flour and 50% spelt whole grain. I like to keep it half and half because I think the flavor is amazing, and also because the whole grain has all of those awesome properties with the germ, the endosperm, and bran, it tends to make my starter a lot stronger as well. And so that's something that is different, and it tends to make my fermentation, the elasticity, last longer. And so anyway, I keep it 50-50. Now, for a sourdough bread, if I was to use just a strictly rolled flour, I'm gonna get a pretty fluffy loaf every time, which is great. But what it lacks for me is a lot of the flavor that our whole grains can provide. And so here I've got a few examples. Here's some our mixed with King Arthur. We've got about 40% of Firefly Fields soft red in here. And so this is a nice, you know, you look at the crumb. The crumb is a little bit wetter. It's a little more dense also than if you would just use a roller mill. But the other benefits is there's so much more fiber, vitamins, nutrients, minerals inside of this bread, and the flavor is just unbelievable. And so that's what our soft red looks like. And here we have some mixed with our whole grain spelt flour. And so, you know, you still get that spongy, you know, elasticity that you want. It's chewy, delicious, a little flatter. Also, the reason it's flat is because I'm still trying to learn how to do the forming and shaping. That is a skill. So again, I've been baking probably for about a month and a half. I started the starter about 2 months ago, but it takes a little while for your starter to get strong enough to actually inflate and help grow that ferment. And so anyway, I'm still working on trying to get the strength in the fold. So that's with the natural leaven that we created in our starter starting about 2 months ago. But I also have a nice loaf here. This is actually 100% whole grains from our farm. And so there's about 45% soft red, 45% spelt, and 10% buckwheat in this loaf. But, I mean, you can see this has some serious oomph and lift. But if we look and compare, you know, it looks very different what's inside, right? So you can see the crumb on this one, lots of nice alveoli, those holes that people like. It's super spongy. On this loaf, it's a little bit more dense. It looks more like a sandwich loaf you might buy at the store, which is great for slicing, but it's also a little bit cakier. And one of the biggest differences that we actually use, you know, this Fleischmann's bread machine bread yeast in it. So you also have to ferment the dough and go through its own process, but with this baker's yeast that's instant, rapid rise, it helps you to get that lift that you might be looking for. But it's just a completely different flavor, also very, very good. But this is 100% whole wheat. And so that extra, that processed wheat helps you to get that lift. But again, just very different results. So that's a little bit, you know, we have been diving in. I don't know if you guys have seen this book before, but Peter Reinhardt's Whole Grain Breads. We've been diving into that, but also awesome people on Instagram. There's so many bread makers out there that we've been, you know, picking up on tips and tricks of how to do all this. And so we've been working on that, learning those things. But that's a little bit about our flour here this month, for the month of February, because we know that it's been kind of cold and it's a good time to start baking. We have a great deal going on with our flour. We're giving a good morning, Carla. Thanks for joining. I see Jared and Jesse here. Thank you for being here, you guys. But we have a baker's dozen discount on all of our organic whole grain flours. And so we've got a soft red winter wheat. We've got organic spelt, which is an ancient cousin of wheat, also very good, buckwheat, and we've got some cornmeal. All right, and so if you're interested, we have those on our website, and that's a little bit more about the grains that we grow on our farm and the difference between, you know, stone milling versus the roller mills. And so with that, I'm like finishing. I see 15 seconds left on my oven before it's gonna ding with the cake's ready. We have a birthday going on. Something else I'm making right now is this pizza dough. This is 100% whole grain. If you see it closely, you can see it's been fermenting, but this has also got a nice stretch to it. See that? Oh, there's my ding. But that's gonna turn into pizza for a pizza party. Our 9-year-old Jude, her birthday's coming up, so we're gonna be celebrating it this weekend. So anyway, thank you so much for listening, and hopefully you learned something and get a little bit of a taste for the differences of these flours. I better go get that cake. So have a great Saturday. Stay warm out there. Bye.